they said, hey, man, we want to bring in Abdullah the Butcher for you. So that's where the first time that I wrestled Abdullah the Butcher in Overland, Missouri. So have you ever been around Abdullah?
I can tell. I'm going to let you finish this first, and then I'll tell you my Abdullah story. Because
so everybody will tell you once Abdullah's done wrestling, he's done. He doesn't want to do another damn thing. He just wants to get paid and leave. So we're out there wrestling, and I come to the back, and Abdullah comes to the back and says, Champ, let's go back out. And we went out for another 10 minutes. I came to the back, and then we wrestled again out another door for another 5. And people to this day don't believe me. They're like, there's no way that was Abdullah's idea. And I said, I swear it was Abdullah's idea. So after we got done wrestling, he said that he was getting ready to fly to Japan. And by the time he said, I'm flying out in 4 days. By the time I get back home, have a videotape at my restaurant, and by the time I go back to Japan, I'll take it over there with me and see what I can't do. Wolfie, I couldn't even sleep, so I went straight home, hooked up 2 VCRs, made a videotape, waited for the post office to open, went to the post office, overnighted it to his restaurant, and he called me in 2 days, and he says, damn, Champ, you really want to go to Japan, don't you? I said, yes, sir, I do. So he took that over, and then I've been going ever since. But I was Abdullah's boy over there, so that shit where, people were, the wrestlers were afraid of me when I got over there, and I'm not that guy, you know. I try to work with everybody. But you always hear stories about how harder hitting they are in Japan. And when I got there was a bunch of wrestlers with missing teeth. And I was like, damn, these guys are beating the fuck out of each other. But then I just figured out it was bad hygiene, and they just had teeth missing, and everything was cool. And
backwoods towns we've worked in.
Pretty much, man. Willie Paul Davis. Willie Paul.
Here's my Abdullah story, man. 1994, me and Jamie go to Puerto Rico. I know you've heard the Puerto Rico story. I've told it. Of course. Not going to go into that. But before that happened, I think we were working at Bayamon. You ever worked there at the baseball stadium?
Yes. Me and New Jack took on Flash and some Puerto Rican dude. I can't remember the other guy's name.
So we're in Bayamon, man, and after the show, I don't know, for whatever reason, everybody else was gone. And I really hate to say this story, to be quite honest with you, because this is weird. But everybody else was gone, man. And the only 2 people left in the Heels locker room, because back then, I don't know if you were there in that day or whatever, I don't know what your years were, but it was still the old, Heels on one side, baby faces on the other. And it was me and Abdullah, and he's getting, undressed from his mask or whatever, and he goes, that little high voice, hey, Champ.
Yeah.
Hey, Champ. He said, can you do me a favor? And I was like, yeah, what's up? He said, I can't reach my back. Can you wash my back for me? And at that moment, I was like, holy fuck, is this, is this gay is whatever. I don't, whatever, but I'm not, I don't know. I've heard stories about him and blah, blah, blah. At that point, I really didn't hear anything, but, later, whatever. So at I think I was 18 at that time. My thought was, this is Abdullah the Butcher. This is somebody that I've watched growing up, beat the fuck out of people, and I'm, 180 pounds in Puerto Rico, just heard all these stories of Bruiser Brody getting killed, and, all this kind of stuff, man, and this guy asked me to wash his back. And I'm like, in my head, all that went through my head in like a total of 5 seconds. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So,
yeah.
here's the big story. It comes out on Live and in Color, Wolfie D, that I fucking stood there and I washed that motherfucker's back just because I was afraid that he was going to try to fucking kill me if I didn't. So, yeah. That story. That's come out in public now.
That's awesome. Man, so I'm laying in Japan in my bed one time, and 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm talking about, we just come off this ferry boat, and it was a long ride from the ferry boat to the hotel, and 5 o'clock in the morning, I get a call on the hotel phone, and I answer it, and it's Abdullah asking me to go to McDonald's and get me and him some breakfast. So I was like, all right, whatever. And I put the phone down, and then I laid there for a second, and then an hour later the phone rang again. I accidentally fell asleep. So he called me on the phone, and he's like, hey, was you going to go to McDonald's for us? I'm like, oh, man, sorry, I fell back asleep. And he starts getting a little shitty with me. You know, hey, if you tell a man you're doing something, you know how he talks, right. And I go, all right, well, I'm telling you, I'm going back to sleep. And he goes, would you please go to McDonald's for us? So after that, he never, because we'd be in locker rooms, and he has that girl thing, and he has to have people help him put that girl thing on, and he's had the Japanese boys ask to tie his boots for him and stuff like that, but he never asked me to do another thing after that.
Right, and so that's what I don't know. Did he consider me like a Japanese boy? I was the only person there left because he couldn't.
Nah, he considers everybody. I mean, it could have been a 60-year-old vet. If he couldn't reach his back, Abdullah would ask that person, hey, is there any way that you could wash my back for me? Like, Pogo did that same thing to me, and he was in a shower.
But I mean, I was not. Here's the thing: I was not in the shower. I was sitting on the bench or whatever, and neither of us were naked or anything like that. But he's like, "Can you come over here and wash my back for me?" And I honestly, I swear to God, at 18 years old, in Porto, scared to death, fixing to put ice in some guy's eyes, you know. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what the answer for that was, and I thought, okay, yeah, I'll do that for you, man. You know, and it was so weird, and yeah, it was crazy. The wrestling business, once again, the wrestling business.
That's it. That's all you can blame it on.
This has been a James Rock Street production.